Hello. Imagine surviving a broken neck, a traumatic brain injury, lying in bed for almost a year, and having the remarkable courage and resiliency to overcome it. Welcome to Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Debra, your host. Welcome to the show. Our guest today is so amazing. I had the honor of meeting her a few months ago, and we have been trying to get hooked up together on her podcast and mine for a while. And I'm so happy that we were able to make it into it. So let's just get started, okay? Amy Thurman, my guest today, also known as Authentically Amy, is a visionary, best-selling author, podcast host, speaker, and creator of Polish the Mirror. After surviving a broken neck, a traumatic brain injury, and nearly a year of being bedridden, she transformed unimaginable pain into purpose. Featured alongside Mel Robbins and Brene Brown in articles on resilience, Amy helps people rise above fear, reconnect with who they truly are, and lead their lives and others with radical authenticity and soul-deep clarity. Please welcome my friend Amy to Deals with Heels. Yay!
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much, Deborah. I'm so glad we can make this happen.
Me too. Me too. We were able to finally get it all coordinated. And I love your story. You went really from lying in bed for 23 hours a day and having a family and all the things to now standing on stage and guiding others. Your story is so inspiring. Please share it with our audience who are just now finding out about you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I'm just honored and grateful to be where I am today because of all the things, the cool things, amazing things that I have been able to do. Things like being featured on a Times Square billboard and going to the Emmys to meet celebrities, writers, producers, and directors. Being able to speak at the University of Oxford and being featured with Mel Robbins and Brene Brown. My life hasn't always been that way. This is just a really cool part of it right now. In 2014, I was working for the University of Oklahoma, and I got up during the night because I didn't feel well, and I passed out, and I landed on my face on the hardwood floor. 6 months later, my doctors told me that the impact from that fall had sheared my brainstem, caused a traumatic brain injury, and broke my neck. So I lived 6 months with a broken neck before I even knew what was wrong. That meant I was completely incapacitated, laying flat in bed for 23 hours a day for almost a year. I went from working one day at the University of Oklahoma to the very next day, I couldn't even take myself to the restroom. And it was a miserable, miserable existence. And there's a lot more to it. I don't know how much you want me to share right now,
Well,
but it's very detailed, very intense.
it had to have been really terrifying to not know, well, one, what was happening and how you were going to deal with it. You have a family, so they were probably scared as well.
Yes.
Let's talk about like what moment did you finally decide, I'm not going back to who I was. I'm going to find out who I am now. What was that moment? How did that feel?
It was such a miserable existence, and I felt like such a burden to my family. And like you said, I lost a year of their lives. My daughter was a senior in high school, my son was a freshman in high school, and my youngest son was 4 years old. And I lost that entire year of their lives. Talk about a year when kids need their mama. Yet I was flat in bed with a cover over my eyes, earplugs in my ears, barely able to speak above a whisper. And I just felt like such a burden because they were having to do everything for me. So I lost that year of their lives. I lost my job, and with it, I lost my sense of self-worth because you know how it is. We get
Mm-hmm.
our sense of self-worth by how much we can accomplish and how busy we are. Yet I was doing nothing. Literally, I couldn't do anything.
Tell me you're Gen
And
X
along the
without
way,
telling me you're Gen X, right? I get
right?
all of my value from what I can accomplish. And I think it's really kind of a generational thing for some of us anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and it definitely was for me. And along the way, I almost lost myself because I thought, I can't keep doing this to my family. I can't keep living in this misery and this excruciating pain because no one can figure out what was wrong with me. So I knew that I had the answer. I had enough pain medication that I was just going to end it all. I was going to put myself and my family out of their misery, and I was going to swallow a handful of pills, and it would be quick and it would be easy and it would be painless. And that's what I was looking for in that moment. But before I could get to that point, my heart said to me, Amy, what if you don't have to die? What if you can make a different choice? What if you can take the same energy you're using trying so hard to die and you flip it around and you use it to fight to live? Maybe you can get better. And if you can get better, maybe you can use your experience to help others. And as a former educator and social worker, I know that I came here to help people. That's my purpose on this earth. Yet laying flat in bed, I was not helping anyone. But my heart knows me so well, and it said, you have another option. There is another choice if you choose to take it. You can still help people if you choose to fight to live. So I began to fight to live with the intention of using my story to help others. And that's what it became. And I knew I really, really did try to get back to the person that I was before. Deborah, I didn't even like that version of myself. It was just who I knew. And I was just trying to get her back, but I couldn't. It was just like hitting a brick wall because my body just wouldn't do it. And I finally decided, you know what? I'm just going to have to see what the new version of me holds. And so I literally put that old version of me to bed. I put her to death. I grieved her and I allowed her to rest in her grave. I am still honoring and grateful for her because she laid the foundation for who I am today. And I began exploring and discovering who I am now. And it has turned into all of the amazing things that we have talked about.
So were you when you made this decision, were you still bedridden or were you up in physical therapy already? Where were you in that part of your journey?
It was before they had found out that my neck was broken. So it was in those first 6 months. And side note, it was my fourth neurologist who found my neck injury. I had to advocate for myself so greatly that I went to many different neurologists, and it was the fourth one who found that neck injury. And so, yeah, I was laying in bed. And when I made this with this realization and decided to fight to live, I literally couldn't do anything that I could do before. And I decided, maybe I can just put earbuds in my ears, turn it down really low and listen to uplifting podcasts and audiobooks and anything that's going to pour into me because my negativity was so deep. It was running so deep and I knew that I was never going to get better and never going to figure out who I was and who I am now with the negativity running that deep and that I had to do something about it. And that was the only thing I could do. So I began listening to Tony Robbins and Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I came across the wisdom of Rumi, which is what my business is named after, a poem that goes like this: Ye who seek God apart, that which you seek thou art. If you wish to seek the beloved's face, polish the mirror and gaze into that space. And that told me that every answer I seek can be found within. I'm looking in the wrong place for this hero to come rescue me because it's found in my reflection in the mirror. I just have to polish the mirror and figure out who I am at my core. And that's where I'm going to find everything that I'm looking for.
And it worked. It did it. For me, it was a big flip the switch kind of a thing too. And one of the things that I love about what you did is when I do mindset training for people that are really struggling, whether that's in sales or just building confidence, one of the things that we really talk about is that your mindset it exists because of your thoughts and your actions, the things that you do regularly and the stories you tell yourself over and over and over again. And the only way to break that feedback loop is to put new data in there. And you did that naturally. You just started filling your mind with words that helped you realize you could do it and you could overcome it. It's such a key thing that people don't understand, that just sitting and wallowing and brooding over and over about the bad circumstances can really hold us and anchor us and keep us from getting better and really thriving and growing. Is that kind of how it was for you as well?
But it really stemmed from my background in social work because working with clients who wanted to stop something in their life that they knew wasn't benefiting them, wasn't serving them, I would teach them that you can't just stop something. Like you can stop it, but you can't let it stop there. You have to replace it with something. And so I had this understanding in my life that I wanted to stop the negativity, but I couldn't just stop it. I had to replace it with something. And I mean, it's true in every area of life. You have to replace it with something intentional or it's going to be filled with something unintentional. And my intentional action was pouring into me those uplifting messages.
It was definitely that way for me when I was at my very lowest, which was nowhere near where you were. I could physically move and take care of myself, but from a mental perspective, I had lost I'd gotten divorced, my kids had left the nest, and then my mom passed away. So there was nothing but empty space. And even if you cleared everything out yourself, it's still empty in there. And that is a sad place. So filling it up is important, but filling it up intentionally, it's really critical to being able to take your life to the next level and the next stage that you're supposed to be in.
Absolutely, absolutely.
One of the things that I love about what you're doing is you really talk about holding space for others. And it's one of your core themes. For entrepreneurs, especially women, juggling many roles, how do you teach the skill of holding space for themselves when our demands on us are just so high?
It is so difficult as women, especially because a lot of us have families and other responsibilities and roles that we play beyond being entrepreneurs or being in the workforce. And what I have found is the holding space piece actually becomes the catalyst to bringing everything else into alignment and bringing everything else where you want it to be. So while we look at holding space, which I will explain more deeply here in just a minute, but while we look at holding space as something just to add to our list, something extra that we have to add to our already busy schedule, it really is the opposite. It is the starting point. It is the foundation that if once we learn to do it and we own it and we do it well, like I said, it becomes the catalyst to help everything else grow. So holding space is just really a safe, non-judgmental space to allow you to simply be human. You know, this is something that I go to grocery stores and doctors' offices. Anytime I'm out in public, someone comes up to me and literally just bears their soul to me. Like literally, they just, this happens to you too, I'm sure,
It
Deborah.
does. It does.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So they just share these things with me that I didn't ask for. I'm just standing there. Someone said to me, it's because I have resting compassion face instead of RBF. I have resting compassion face.
Did you
But
tell them
it's
you're a
because
Virgo and that compassion face doesn't exist? I can say that because I have a lot of Virgo placements in my astrological chart. So, like mine's.
yes, that's right. So it's just simply because I have this safe, non-judgmental aura about me. And it's because I do that for myself first. It all starts within. Like any kind of transformation that you're going to see on the outside has to start inside. It's an internal work first. And so holding space for ourselves means allowing ourselves some grace, giving ourselves space to do what we need to do and to process the things that we need to process, our emotions, allowing ourselves to feel our emotions instead of stuffing them down so that they're never seen or heard from again. Like that's not helping anything. But it is simply allowing ourselves grace to be human and not judging ourselves for messing up or not getting to this thing on our list or not being able to make it to this thing or that thing. It really is just about allowing ourselves to be human and to take it a step further, as an authenticity expert once you begin doing that, then other people see you doing that and it begins to shine a light on other areas of your life. And you serve as a permission slip for other people to do the same. That's what people have told me, that I serve as a permission slip for other people to be vulnerable and authentic because they see me doing it and then they say, "Oh, I can do that too." So it really is this ripple effect, but it all starts within.
It definitely does. And I like the term holding space for a couple of reasons. One, everything you just explained, holding space for yourself where you're protected and you're able to sit with yourself and figure out, be authentic with all of your pain and all of your resilience to come out of that. And once you find your power in that space, which truly does happen from within and who you are, we're all so powerful in and of ourselves. We don't realize it. But
Yes.
once you found that, holding on to it is hard, right? Like I can consciously think, and for me, and I think it's kind of my age also, once you've lived, I just turned 59, and once you've lived that long, which hell yes, I made it. When you reach this far,
Yeah,
not everybody does.
right.
Hell yes, I made
That's
it. Thank
right.
you very much. But we
Yes.
have our stories, and the things that we live through are important, and they're valuable to other people. It just feels normal to us because it's just our life, just what I did. But that value perspective, holding that power, really standing in it and owning it. This is who I am. I will not apologize for it. I will not water myself down. I still, I think we're all work in progress. But for me, that is a challenge. And for a lot of my friends and clients, I see that as well. Really standing and owning it, really holding on to that part of you that's emerging. What kind of advice can you give us to help us do that? To not, I always say backslide like a naughty Baptist, but I don't mean that in a bad way. To backslide back into our old habits and our old ways of thinking, because that's what we're used to. And that's what our brain brings us back to so many times. How can we hold it while we're in that space?
Yeah, our brain will take us back to what is comfortable for us. And ironically, most of the time that's chaos and that's things that we don't really, places we don't want to be in, but we've been in them for so long, our brain is comfortable there. And so our brain will always pull us back to those places. And I have learned that it's all about how I feel. I base all of this on my emotions and how it feels in my body. So if it doesn't feel good in my body, I know that something is off kilter here and that I need to do an assessment. I need to reassess where I am emotionally or physically or with expectations or the roles that I'm playing or the hats that I'm wearing or the masks that I'm wearing, that I need to do a self assessment. And I think that is key that we learn what it feels like in our body when things are in alignment, because that's what I preach is it's all about self alignment, that once we live in self alignment, things go the way we want them to go. But when we're pulled out of alignment, when we allow ourselves to be pulled out of alignment into something that someone else wants us to do or someone else expects us to do, it doesn't really feel good in our bodies. And so, long answer is really evaluating and coming to understand how it feels in your body when things are going well, when things are progressing for you, and how it feels when things seem to be clogged up and really, really not going well. And then it's just an awareness. It's keeping your mind and yourself open to understanding what it feels like so that you know when you're off kilter and you can realign yourself if that makes sense.
It does. It makes perfect sense. We talk about on the show a lot aligning with your purpose and with your own path and staying within it and aligning with your goals and what you expect, right? So if this is where I can visualize myself, I'm in this spot, aligning with that and let the path take you instead of try to force you into it. And the same is true for sales. And all you entrepreneurs out there know that the time you force it, every time you drop your price to make it work, you compromise core value of your brand or of your person, which often are the same. When you do that, it's always a problem customer. They always push more. And it's not that they're a terrible person. They're just not your customer. You forced it. Let them go find their person that doesn't have that friction. And oftentimes we push and try to close or try to force it or haul an old prospect back in. Boy, when I was managing sales teams, that was one of the things. Rather than go get new prospects, generate more, they would pull up these old deals. Well, I've got these. This is what I've got. Well, those weren't a deal last month or the month before. They're not. What's changed to make it a deal now? Something fundamental had to have changed. And if it didn't, then you're just let that go. Let that go. And so I think it really relates to business in a big way,
Yeah.
because as you try to force prospects and force deals, because you don't want to go out and lead gen, you don't want to network, you don't want to make calls. You'd rather be able to dredge this one back up. Somehow that seems easier than just having conversations. And what you're doing is you're forcing it because you don't want to go and do the thing that you know you need to do. for whatever
I
reason that
think
is.
too, anytime you throw an energy of desperation out there, that's what you're gonna get back.
A
And
scarcity
I see
mindset.
this, yeah, as just I'm so desperate, I will take and do anything to get a client or to get a customer, and that's not really what you want. You don't want
No,
that. And self-alignment is also it also serves in your business. You know, you are aligned, you know what you want from your business and which direction you want your business to go. And if a client or you're trying to get a client that's not aligned with who you are and what your business is about, it's not gonna go well.
it's
I
not.
have turned down, like, I have said no to really cool offers from amazing people because it wasn't aligned with who I am and what my purpose is. And, these are offers that people only dream about, but they didn't feel aligned, and so I say no. And I know that's the right choice for me because if I had said yes, it would not have gone well. It wouldn't have felt good in my body, if that makes sense.
It does because I am also really tuned in to my body. I've worked really hard. I've been meditating for about 15 years. And I forget
Mm,
sometimes too, though. And I'll be like, why do I feel this way? I can't get past this. And then I realize, "Oh, because I'm really stuck and I need to get out of this mindset. How did I do a lot of self talk. My audience knows that lots of people, they find that to be kind of crazy to talk to yourself in your mind or even out loud sometimes. Mine's usually in my mind, I'll be honest. But I ask those questions like, what are you doing? This is this symptom that you have, this condition that I have. I struggle with my kidneys. I have a unique anatomy. My organs aren't all where they're supposed to be. And as a result, it can be a struggle sometimes with my kidneys. They're fine. They're not. I just have different ongoing struggles with it. And I know when I start feeling that way that it also is very tuned into to how I'm feeling emotionally. It's like our body knows where to squeeze us when we're in it.
yes, exactly. Yes.
Like, okay, I've got that kidney thing again. What's happening in my life that I'm doing this? Is it that did I drink alcohol? Did I do something? Did I get dehydrated? Or am I just not feeling myself? And oftentimes that's what it is. Our mental attitude can really control our physical bodies.
Mm. Oh, yeah. That has taken me very, very far in life, having lived through all of that I have gone through. People say, "How do you do it?" "Teach me how to do what you've done and be like you are," and it's just all about being authentic, knowing who I am at my core, valuing and honoring that, and then living it out in my daily life. It really is as simple as those 3 steps: self-discovery, self-value, and self-alignment.
That's awesome. And let's say it one more time that you came up with that real quick list of 3 things and no one was ready to write
Yeah.
it down. So let's say the 3 steps again, if you don't mind.
Sure, it's actually, a resource that I created called Your Authenticity Score, and it is based on these 3 things. The first one is self-discovery, where understanding who you are at your core beneath all of the expectations and the noise and the roles and the masks, and who you are beneath all of that. The second one is self-value. It's honoring and valuing the things that you have found in the self-discovery process, owning them as your own, not being ashamed of the pieces that are actually you. And then the third step is self alignment, where you're taking all of those things that you've learned and begin to value. And now you're living them out in your life. You're showing them to the universe, to the world, to God, whoever you believe in, that this is who I am, and it's becoming apparent in my life because I'm taking the steps to walk these things out in my daily life. And life becomes it takes on a whole different trajectory when you live from that place of self-alignment. It really does.
It absolutely does. I did that when I started my agency and my podcast, and it feels so good when everything seems at ease, when it moves together, when you meet the right people. I think that's really important as well. And I think I struggle the most with number 2. I think holding that value and trusting that because we're so faced with so much criticism and mental attitudes as women in particular. We're hard on each other. We don't need men to be mean to us. We're mean enough to each other. And I think it's hard for women to stand there and say, okay, this is who I am. And yep, I can be loud and I can be intense at times, and I'm nerdy and I can sometimes just say something like Sheldon. But those are important parts of me that aren't always the most likable parts because most of the time people see this, but I'm also those other things, and I'm not going to water those down anymore. I'm going to stand in there and hold on to it because that's how God made me. And yep, sometimes I annoy people. Sometimes people don't like me, and that's okay. That is
It
hard to
is.
hold and to trust
It is.
that it's right. What kind of things do you do to help hold yourself in that space, that remind yourself, this is who I am? Do you like I do self-talk, that works really well for me, but journaling does too. What kind of tips can you give us for doing that and staying in that even though sometimes we don't feel like that's who we are, right? We question it. We
We
know.
do. We
We know
crush it.
because we
Yeah.
went through it. We know that is who we are, but it's easy to question it when we're challenged.
It really is. And yeah, you're right. Especially when someone tells us, and let me back up. It is really difficult at first when you begin embracing who you know yourself to be, because the people who are closest to you know you as one version of yourself, and they're questioning you like, why are you acting like this? Why are you doing this? Because they haven't they don't know the real version of you, because all you have let them see is this other version of you. It really can be difficult at first. So I want to encourage you and allow you to expect that may be difficult at first when you are switching, so take it slowly. But the thing that helps me the most, and this may sound odd, but I really focus on the things that bring me joy. I love to color. That's why my second book is a reflective coloring workbook that walks you through the self-discovery process, because coloring has changed my life. You have to slow down and you have to be intentional when you're coloring. I love to color, I love to go for walks, I journal a lot. I do meditate, but when I'm walking, I talk out loud. Like, I allow my brain space to be heard. And, while people may think that's weird, there's something about saying the words out loud. When you say them out loud, it gives them authority. And so I talk a lot out loud when I'm going for walks because I walk outside. There's nobody else around.
Even if
And there's just
oh,
something
walk
about,
meditations are so awesome, and oftentimes they involve discussions with yourself about different things that you see. They have different planned walking meditations, but I find, like, if I'm upset and I walk, I can talk it out better. There's something about the
yeah.
physical exercise and activity is closely associated with memory. I wonder if it helps us accept it more when we do it when we're
Hmm.
exercising, maybe, because your memory changes so much more when you exercise. Used to with my kids when they were young, if they had trouble memorizing things, we would go out and go run around the tree. They were in elementary school, so we didn't do a lot of big major, but they would go run around the tree and then they would come back and they could remember it because it's so closely tied in. I wonder if that helps. I bet it does. But focusing on joy, that is not, it's only weird because we're not used to doing it. We're bombarded every day with bullshit. So
Yeah.
joy, you have to consciously receive it and think about it, but once you do, just like that, God's sending you more things to be joyful about.
It's so true, and once you go through that the self-discovery process and really dig deep and find out what brings you joy, because most of us don't even know. We're so bogged down with all the other things other people are putting on us, we don't really know what brings us joy, so we have to figure that part out first.
Well, and for a long time, I thought making other people happy brought me joy, right? No, that's not the
Yeah.
way it works. Helping people can bring you joy, but no one can make somebody happy, but I spent a lot of time rearranging and doing and making other people happy, and that it's definitely not the way. We're getting close to the end of the show, but I definitely want to do a little bit more. I have a couple more things. The first one is if you were speaking directly to a woman entrepreneur who's exhausted, stretched thin by life, feeling lost in all of her roles that she's juggling, what would you say to start the process of reconnecting her to her own voice and truth?
But we would definitely start with which of these pieces don't feel aligned, like which of these feel like a burden. Not that alignment always feels like joy, because it doesn't, but most of the time, the things that feel like a burden that are just dragging you down are something that you need to delegate to someone else, or that maybe you need to step out of completely, or just reduce the time that you spend doing that, because life is meant to be joyful. We are intended to enjoy being on this earth, yet so many people live in such a burden and in such dissatisfaction with life, and it's not intended to be that way. So I would start with identifying, just making a list of the things that just are just dragging you down, because if you're living that way and feeling that way, then there are things in your life that are causing that. It's not something that is natural to us. There are things that are causing that. So I would identify those first and see how we could delegate those, or maybe reduce those in her life, and then figure out the things that she really enjoys doing, the pieces of her job and her life that she really enjoys, and figure out how to step more into those, do more of those things, to just a bit of reducing the pain points and increasing the things that bring her joy. And I know that that's not possible with everyone, but it's a good starting point to at least make the list and do the as little things as you can to maybe start that process.
One thing is certain, if you're at that point, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you're burned out, right? If you're feeling
Mhm.
resentful and you're struggling, then you're burned out. And you can get burned out for things that you have a lot of joy about. My show sometimes, it's a lot of work. And so you can get burned out and you
Yeah.
just need a break. But I think if the things that normally bring you joy aren't bringing you joy and you're feeling burned out about all of it, I think making that list of everything can help you identify, because I feel burned out about almost everything when I'm in that spot. And so which one is
Yeah.
really pushing your buttons the most that's causing it to spill over? Any tips on identifying what that is when you feel yucky about it all almost?
This thought came to mind. So I'm going to start with this, that when you're feeling burned out and you're feeling overwhelmed, that most of the time, that means that you're out of alignment, that you're not embracing your authentic self in some area. And most of the time, it means that we're not saying something that we need to say, that we're holding so much inside that we're not saying it because we're worried about how it will affect us, or maybe the repercussions, or you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. So I think I would start with figuring out, what is it I really want to say? What is inside of me that I really just want to spew out, that I'm holding on to and that I'm burying? Because that needs to be dealt with first. Like, that's the first place you need to start, is what feels like it needs to just bubble up and over, because that either needs to be said in a respectful, kind way, or dealt with in some way. That's where I would start.
Or at a minimum, just getting it out of your body and writing it down. Sometimes just doing
Yeah.
that lets you see it better, because writing it or saying it lets it come out. So now, gosh, I feel so relieved. Just sorry about dumping all of that on you, but I feel so much better just saying it out loud times is
Yeah.
just such a relief to say the words. And then you're like, okay, I did it. I don't know why it's so difficult for us. We're so caught up as a people, I think, and content and what other people think and what somebody's going to say. And as women, trying to make everybody happy, taking care of everyone else. The real flex is stopping and taking care of yourself and holding that
Yes.
space, right?
Absolutely. Yes, and that we're taught that that's selfish. We're taught that, we can't do that because that's selfish, but I mean, look at the airplane. We have to put our mask on first before we can help anyone else. But we don't see it that way because society continues to teach us that it's selfish. But no, it's not. And sometimes, to get this out, I have had this happen with these people who come up to me in grocery stores and doctors' offices. Maybe you need to be the person that says something to a stranger. Sometimes you can't really say something to a person that you know, but if you could say it to a stranger, it's easier. It helps your body be able to start to process it, so that maybe you can say it to the person that you need to say it to. But it depends on what it is you need to say. But I have found that starting with a stranger has been really, really helpful for some of my clients.
I can definitely see that. For one, you probably don't care as much what the stranger thinks. And so saying it
Right.
to them and seeing that their reaction, and oftentimes when I say something to someone that knows me well or someone that I care about, I'm so prepared for their reaction and what I expect it to be. I'm nervous, but saying it to somebody else and they have their predispositions, my friends and people I care about what they think I should be doing with my life too, right? We have that whether we want to or not. So saying it to a stranger lets you have like this test water, right? Where I can just, it's like the A/B test. I'm going to say it and see how they, and what I have found the times that I've done that, where I've allowed myself to be vulnerable, maybe as a guest on a podcast or with a stranger that I just met, I have found it very empowering and liberating because the reaction is always different than what I would have expected it to be. And to see someone find something that I said and when I wasn't even trying to be inspiring, I was kind of dumping, then you see it and you can really circle back around and realize how important your words are to somebody else. And people thinking about starting a podcast. Maybe you're going to say something that's going to change someone's life when they hear it, or maybe you're going to interview someone whose words are going to change someone's life. And it's so important if you have those thoughts, you're meant to do it. You're meant to ask those questions. So I think it's amazing. I think you're amazing, Amy, and everything that you have been doing with your life and your challenges and how you've overcome them. It is so amazing. And
Thank
tell
you.
our tell our audience how we can find out more about you and the services you offer, book you as a speaker. You've done such great things under that. Such an inspiring speaker. I watched some of her stuff from Oxford because I wasn't at Oxford, but I did watch some of her video that she posted and it's so amazing. How can everyone else find out more about Amy?
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, it's been an honor and a pleasure to sit with you and have this time with you, Deborah. I just really am grateful. My website is pretty much a one-stop shop. It's getamyshelp.com. My books are available there. I have a book study group where we go through my reflective coloring workbook. I have a group that is going through the self-discovery process. I have a curriculum that I've created to walk you through self-discovery, and that starts, I'm not sure when this airs, but that's available on my website. You can contact me for speaking engagements on my website, and just all the things that you might want to know about me are there on my website. My social media links, I do a lot with social media. I have a YouTube channel, all that. So, yeah, I would love to connect with you.
And are let's see, your podcast, is it available on all platforms?
It is. It's called Holding Space with Authentically Amy, and it's available on YouTube and on all podcasting platforms. And it is just simply a safe space for people to be human, a non judgmental space where people tell me things they have never told anyone else because they feel so safe.
Well, that is fantastic. I think everyone should check it out. Everyone, remember, you don't have to perform perfection. You can lead from your scars, your truth, your voice, and Amy can help. I will link to all of her contact information in the show notes. And you will also be able to find links to our website to find out more information about me or my advertising agency, Hexagon Media, there as well. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review, like, share, and tell your friends. Until next week, Amy, we're out. We did it.
They, yeah.